Hi there. Good afternoon. This is Carol Cook, and I'd like to welcome all of you to my first podcast. And this is for AUAHUB, which stands for Angelic Universal Alignment. Today, I have a couple of guest hosts that will be joining me for this show and other shows. And I have Gloria Steiner, who is a practicing medium. I also have Neil Janklow, who is joining us, and Neil is a musician. He is also a practitioner and a theta practitioner as well. And I would like to welcome them both to the show and welcome everybody that is going to be listening. The format of our shows will be as follows for those of you that are just tuning in with us for the first time. And we will have a guest speaker for our shows. And then at the half-hour point, then we will break and we will come back with the opportunity for people to call in and ask questions of our guests, ask questions of Glow and Neil for ourselves. And if you have questions and you would like to get a reading or have a question that would need to have a reading, we will indulge you with that opportunity. This website in this show is also a way for people who practice in this industry to have a voice on the airwaves where they would not normally have one. And so I just want to be sure that also if you are a practitioner, you can get a hold of myself, and that website or the email address is info@auahub.com. And so I would like to once again welcome Neil and welcome Gloria. And so with that, let me ask Neil to say hello so you can get familiar with his voice.
Unmute. Hello. I'm scrambling a little bit here because I thought it was audio. So,
and it is. I think we are all audio. So,
but
not to worry.
I see you on video. So is this? Should I turn my camera on? Is my answer?
No, you don't need to.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for inviting me. So clear up a few little technical things on the first show. And I'm very, very excited and happy to be part of this. This is something that we've been talking about for quite a while. And so I can actually turn the video on if you'd like. And I don't know if the audience will be seeing this or not.
No.
Okay.
They won't see it. But I wanted to thank Neil for joining. And Gloria, are you available to make comment yet? And
yes, I am. I'm here and present. How are you guys?
Thank you. We're doing
very
great.
Good. Thanks.
Good. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Well, thank you. And I want to express a special thank you to Neil and to Gloria. Like Neil had said, this has been a long time in coming. Our producers at CTR Network have been extremely patient with me. I'm like a snail. But I do want to say thanks again. Today is September 8th, 2022. And just start off with a couple of items. As I logged in, I saw, and I'm just putting this out there for any well-wishers, that Queen Elizabeth died today. And she died at the age of 99. Not that I'm part of the paparazzi or the news channel, but I just wanted to be sure that that is a marked occurrence. So for all of us that follows horoscopes, timelines, full moons, we have the full moon actually tomorrow, but this is a huge change. And then also what we have happening in California and across several states is an unprecedented heat wave. And for some of us who experience warm weather, it's hotter than normal. And for us who live in much cooler environments, it is depleting everybody's energy. The water is receding, and so we've been notified by our local power companies that at some point in time today, if the power grid gets hit too hard, things may go out of service. So, if that's the case and I'm taken out of service, I would like everybody to know that I will call back in and join back in. So, without any further ado, what I would like to do is provide us with some interviews, and this would be I'm asking Gloria and Neil um, to be part of our interviews so that we can get to know them. We can get to know their struggles as it applies to all of us. And so, with that, if it's okay, Neil, can I start with you, please?
Absolutely.
Okay. So, I know that with the two of you, all of us have had situations that occurred to us as little children, maybe even young adults. And so, Neil, what was it that began your path of enlightenment many years ago?
Yeah, you can go all the way back if you. I mean, I can't go back further than this life. Um, Maybe with some help, but oh, with Gloria's help. Yeah,
Yes.
that's good.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I found out that my house plant is a significant person in the past life, and I just was enjoying the green and the big leaves. But anyway, the event that started me, a lot of people, and not maybe Carol's an exception, but a lot of people who are doing this, and Gloria as well, from childhood, they felt they had well, they just were aware of things that other people were not quite aware of. I mean, as children, I think universal experience is that we see, like in the cartoons, they do this. They make trees animated with human faces. They make plants singing and jumping around, and the leaves are the arms. This was what I experienced as an infant, 2, 3, as long as I can remember. There were faces in plants, and when I watered them, they giggle, and that was just really normal. So that would be my first experience, and then life kind of beat it out of me. It's there were other things going on. I'd stay up all night again, back as a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, and stare at like shapes moving around by the ceiling. All night. I'd sleep all day, and I'm still nocturnal. So this was the early experience of seeing manifestations that I couldn't explain, or no language to, or thought it was universal. And like as I mentioned, um, you go to school and it kind of goes hidden, and
Hmm.
for me at least.
Yes.
And I'm a sensitive, uh, artistic, and expressive in ways like through sound and through music, and sounds and imagery always was capturing me. I would find myself a movement too, on a park swing, and just I'm so into it. I went like to a different place, and so I guess repetitive dance and art and music just touched me deeply, and I fell into music, um, being frustrated in first grade grammar, in school at 6 years old, where they're just cramming all this math and reading, and
Hmm.
I was yearning for connection with people, expression of creativity. So music always like found myself glued to like an old Victrola or like a radio. That's I'm dating myself now. There's a radio that was in a giant wood case in my family's living room, and I just stare at the knobs and glowing lights, and turn the dial and listen to all the different sounds. And I just could do that for hours. So when I'm going towards this, I had this extra sensitivity, and it turned into follow me throughout my life. In as a teenager, I was extremely frustrated again with lack of connection.
Mhm.
Say it was so I started. Like a lot of people at that time were getting into meditation and yoga and Eastern thought. The Beatles were, traveling to India and studying with gurus, and I was just like, oh, that seems to be a way to kind of get back into touch. Because of my experience with organized religion was it was kind of like there's me, and then there's the teachings and God and all the literature and the people who could speak with um, with angels
Mhm.
and entities were in a book, and I don't see them walking around, and they weren't standing up in front of me. I mean, I couldn't. There was no reality between the literature and the history and what I was experiencing. I mean, I would love to just crawl in the Bible and
Mhm.
be in there. I felt like I had been, So Eastern thought was attractive because it was experiential. It was the goal was you could become you could experience your own divinity, your own sense of spirituality, and it was not there's all this there was some rules, but it wasn't like you'd have to go back thousands of years. You could do it. So I fell into that and studied quite a lot with different different avenues, hatha yoga, meditation, tantra.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So I mean, I want to get kind of fast forward because a lot of people that do this energy healing, medium work, they are born with it and keep going, or they have a traumatic experience in their life that it's like a slap and it wakes them up. It's a wake up call. Here's your destiny's calling.
Right.
Um, my
Well,
we
well,
pardon. Go
let
ahead.
me interrupt you real quick because I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
And this had to do when you were little and you were seeing the energy of plants.
Hmm.
Not everybody has that gift. Not everybody can see the energy of plants when they're so young and recognize plants as
Yeah.
energy beings. What in particular about plants did you know then that you still know to be true to today?
Well, they giggle when you water them.
And that's out of pure happiness or they're thirsty?
Yeah, it's a little more calm. Well, as a 3-year-old watering the plants, just what my memory was is that they would feel the water hitting them as raindrops, and they'd just dance. They just would giggle, and they couldn't get up and move. Their feet were kind of locked, but they would. I'm talking about succulents that look like artichokes. I mean, this is the image of my mind. If everyone's familiar, there are some succulents that look like just groups of artichokes all next to each other, all bunched up. And
Yeah.
they would just, I would just see and I feel. I mean, I didn't see mouths, but I could feel the energy. It was a joyous celebration. I mean, I like to weed. I was always in the garden. I was spent a lot of time in the garden and then in front of the radio. Um, so the plants to me were communicating at that time, and it's there's been a few decades between that and now, and it's identical when I water them now, when I tend to them in the yard. There's a communication. It's absolute and undeniable.
So
um,
this is very interesting, I would say, for a lot of our listeners uh, as our base grows, is that people, unlike myself, I didn't have that experience being little, but I know that there are other people out there that communicate with plants, even as part of theta healing. One of the practices that we had is that we got a plant and we would talk to the plant as part of our teaching. And so this is something that comes naturally to you. And if you were to run into somebody that also talks very well with plants, what would you say to them to allow them to open up? The person to open up to
Mm.
talk about it.
The context would be in a reading where they were contacting me for help. Is
Mhm.
is that what you're okay? Because
Yeah.
my approach would be, I went to a nursery the other day. I mean, I just don't bring this stuff up. It's considered woo
Yeah,
as
the
a
woo the
to the
woo-woo
woo.
of
Yeah,
psychics.
right. You don't go into Costco and just start talking to vegetables and asking the person next to you. You think they see the same thing. Go, hey, this tomato talking. Did you hear that? No.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I was gonna like the
Uh,
context.
uh,
Yeah, somebody contacted me for a reading
mhm,
and wanted to further explore what it is, the connection that they feel. I would ask a lot of questions because I just don't want to. Preloading is a term they use in that Carol introduced. You
mhm.
don't want to project anything um, onto
But I
your
mean,
subject. Mhm.
if they had this skill and they wanted to feel more comfortable in expressing it to people, do we wanna would you suggest that they just accept it and move on, embrace it, and go talk to some plants that they have around their house and see what they get back? Or are we talking like, let's go to the national forest and go walking through all those trees and see what we get? What
Okay.
might you suggest?
Yeah. All right. See, I had to tread real carefully, but now as you say that they have an interest and they want to
Hmm.
develop it, I
Yes.
do as part of my and you did take the class, and so did Gloria. It's called Tune Your Instrument. We did a tree meditation, a meditation that involves a plant or something like an oak tree, where I do a guided meditation um, that's in preparation for like tune your instrument is to get aware and to find the resonating audio frequency of each of your energy centers. The body has hundreds of energy centers, but say 7 main ones. So the practice is to listen, become aware
Hmm.
of the vibrational qualities of nature, because we are in nature. We're part of nature, and as a preparation to learning your own resonating frequencies, to recognize them in the plants. It sometimes is easier because it's not a part of your own being, and locating these energy centers is tricky. So it could be. So the tree is there, so I can use the tree as kind of like a whiteboard. Does that answer your question?
Kinda.
I would do that.
Yeah.
I would help the sitter um, become aware of the life force in other parts of creation, because there's life force in everything. What do how would you explain that things are just randomly? Some people would think that things
Hmm.
are just randomly evolving. Well, um, maybe another theory is that everything has a force, a desire to survive, to flourish, to nurture, to help, to expand and grow, and to fulfill all their potential, and that opens up another avenue of philosophy. So there we go. This is how I would try to help somebody who says, I've got a connection with plants and I'd like to develop it. And I would use exercises to bring that to that ability out, to enhance person's. Everybody has abilities. It's just getting in touch with them. I'm not saying some people are better or worse or other. Everyone is born with these abilities. Now we just have to rediscover them, and that's the tools. And I would change the direction for each person. I would personalize it if it's a one-on-one in a class. I have a class situation, and that's different. But one-on-one, I would use my own intuition to modify it to the person who's in the reading.
Excellent. Well, I also would like to ask you, in the past 3 to 5 years, was there something that was absolutely paramount in having you grow even more in your own personal enlightenment? Can you talk about that with us for a little bit?
Yeah, it could be like a novel. It's and
Okay.
okay, so we had a COVID started. That was traumatic for a lot of people.
Yes.
My wife and I had recently moved, just like a month before or a year before COVID. No, it was just basically a month. COVID really happened in February of 2020. We had moved in June, and she had moved in October. We finished finalizing all the other things, like moving the other house. We kind of like did it
Right.
backwards and bought a house and then had to sell another one. So my wife Dawn was very involved in getting things prepared. She found property that was our dream.
Mhm.
Uh, it's a slice of it's like a piece of heaven in the mountains, and it was a fixer upper for the price. It was attractive, and so we jumped
So,
on it
yeah.
hard,
I
and
said you jumped on it and then you moved in.
right, and then we had to sell the house. So anyway, the situation was moved into the house and started making lists and lists of things to fix. The list was long. We had a house that required all new pipes. Everything was rusting, and there were toxins. Electrical was shot. So we moved in, and then COVID hit. Um, February, we were in lockdown. I started teaching all my students. I teach music privately, so I was driving to people's homes. I had to do that all remote, which was not a
Mhm.
problem because I had some remote students. So transition was pretty seamless.
Nice.
Started teaching remotely from the new property, and and then my wife started. I mean, she got I got a tick bite, and then some other infection, and then she started losing weight like crazy, and I thought it was just antibiotics because of tick. Very strong antibiotics was messing with her gut um, and flora. And it turned out to be stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and
Oh my goodness.
yeah, and it was a terminal situation. It was the doctor was very blunt. Said you got 3.5 months. That's the statistics. Those are the numbers. And we can make things less painful by giving you really good opioids. And I'm like, she's got a blockage in her intestine, and opioids are not going to help that. Can we clear that so that she can eat food at least? And I said, no, we're not going to go. So anyway, it became more and more complications. She was just incredibly courageous and positive. She said her little thing she told people was the bad news is it's terminal. The good news is it's treatable. So
Wow.
she persevered with a smile and did a little dance every time there was a chemo round,
Mhm.
dancing up the stairs. Um, and I just admired her qualities. She was always tough and persevered always, and with a can-do attitude. She was young, um, 59 at the time. We thought we'd have a couple more decades in our new dream house. And she said, well, my dad died of pancreatic cancer when he was 42, and I got 18 more years needed probably because of all the broccoli and cauliflower and carrots that you're feeding.
Wow.
She was
She was very optimistic. I mean,
she
and
was she was
she was a bright light.
she she is, and and she did last. She fought it, and there were a lot of complications because they never did the surgery, and so her whole digestive system, which is a closed system, had to let out. It's a lot of pain, and not as much as a motorcycle accident she had. She was like 10 years earlier.
Wow.
She had like 7 compound fractures and dislocated this and that.
Jeez, she lived life to the fullest.
She said, "This is not pain compared to that my accident, the motorcycle."
Wow. Wow.
She goes, dying not as bad.
Well, what about your wife's passing
Yeah.
that progressed you to this point? Is
Well,
there
that's yeah.
something that you wanted to that sparked you even further in your development?
Yeah, that I was getting to. A little backstory. So my wife and I, as you can tell, are very, very intermingled in our when we first were like all reunited, when we were both in our our early 40s. She was, a lot of life had been lived, but when we saw each other, it was instantly recognizable to me that I had known her before, and that this is the person I was waiting for, to reconnect with, and the bond was incredibly powerful. So to be seeing that was going to be severed, physically, was like intolerable for me, emotionally,
Hmm.
and I'm still dealing with it. So when she did leave, I sung to her the songs that were performed at our wedding, which was basically a concert with a wedding on the side, but a beautiful setting up in the mountains in the mountains, like half a mile from our new property. Actually, it turned out to be.
Hmm.
But that was like 7 or 8 years earlier. So it's a special place. So when she did leave, and I try to make the transition peaceful by singing to her the songs. One of them was a Beatles song, "All You Need Is Love." It's a song we opened up the music concert part of the wedding. "Love is all you need" is the chorus. And I was singing that over and over, and her breathing became more shallow. And then there was absolutely no change to her physically, and I didn't see any like energy moving. At that time, I wasn't really in touch with energies. I was kind of in shock, but
Well, let me
yeah,
do this. We got to go to a network break, and
right.
I want you to keep in mind and come back to this. And so at this point in time, we're going to take a break. And then we can continue and listen to Neil and how he was able to. And Neil, please tell me if this is right. You were able to reconnect to your wife, Dawn. Is this correct?
This is correct. Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, hang on to your thoughts, and we will be right back. Dreams can come true if you only believe your story is real.
Today's sponsor is Stewart Fitness. Working with a professional personal trainer with years of experience is one of the fastest, easiest, and most successful ways to improve your health, fitness, and lifestyle. Specializing in working with clients with health issues, sports injuries, and proven results with clients losing 30 pounds all the way up to 100 pounds or more. Make the best decision of your life now and contact Bryant Stewart at Stewart Fitness, 415-397-4273. Dreams can come true if you only believe your story is real. Well, thank you for coming back, and thank you for continuing to listen with us. And Neil, if you could tell us, were you able to reconnect with Dawn?
Yeah, that cliffhanger.
Yeah, good cliffhanger.
Yeah, at the end of at the break. Yes, and in a very beautiful way. There was like I said, when she left, we were singing, and I was singing. Well, I felt she was singing along, and like I said, there was nothing different in her physically. In fact, she was just staring right at me. Didn't blink. I was blinking, but I didn't really blink. And at that time, she couldn't speak. She couldn't speak for like 8 hours because her organs, her major organs had shut down. Right when they were though in the ER, the doctors were telling me, I was asking her if she wanted her headphones on, because there was so much noise. They said she can still hear. Talk to her, let her know, because the last thing to go is your hearing, the ability to listen. So I was talking to her, and it was very noisy at the nurse's station outside the ER room. So I asked her if she wanted headphones on because she'd like to listen to the sound of raindrops on a roof, reminded her of her cabin, and that she lived in for a decade. And the nurse said she can't answer you. So ask her to. She's still blinking. So ask her. She didn't say that, but she was looking around. Actually, she couldn't speak. And the nurse said, ask her one blink for no, one blink for yes, two blinks for no. And I go holding the headphones out in front of her. And I said, if you want the headphones, blink your eyes once for yes, two for no. And so I see her eyelids go down, blink. Okay. And so I start to put them over her head. And then I see her struggling to blink her eyes a second. And then they go down. And I go, okay, no, that means no. Okay. No, it took a lot of effort for her to blink twice. It started to hit me that she wasn't going to be around much longer. And so they moved her to a room, and they allowed her family to visit one at a time because it's COVID, everybody's masked. There were no tests at that time. I don't think it was November 2020. So we, I already talked about everything that happened. Like 8 hours later, in the morning at 9 o'clock, she passed over. And,
Wow.
and
So
I,
sorry.
my wedding ring disappeared. That, like within hours, I don't know where it went. I took her rings off her fingers. It was just a struggle, and I had to because they had been on wedding ring and engagement, or whatever, all the rings. I
Right.
had to use a little bit of soapy water, and she had just passed. And I'm taking, these blankets and her socks, and I'm in kind of another zone, taking her possessions, just like a zombie, kind of going through some motions, and made sure I had all her possessions. And so I went to a home that was very quiet, and there's a cat named Ollie. And I said, "Oh, my Ollie, we're going to be my grieving buddy. We're going to do this together." And he just kind of looked at me. He knew what was going on. So Ollie and I, and I just don't remember that part, kind of a blur. I'm still working through this stuff, so I don't have a lot of strong memory of the most traumatic parts.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
There's something that important happened. 2 or 3 days after she passed, the heater in the bathroom downstairs started sputtering. It's like 1970s old electric in-wall heater. I'd asked Dawn, before she passed, "Are you going to visit me as a blue bird?" It's got some blue eyes. "As a blue dragonfly, as a blue bug, as anything blue?" And she goes, "No, I'm going to be flying with the birdies and swimming with the fishies. So I'm not going to be, that's Robin." And a bird just flew.
Yeah.
But just now when I said that, a bird flew. Okay, so talk about, something called synchronicity or whatever. So the wall heater is buzzing and buzzing, and it's like a thermostat's all whack. So I go sit right in front of the heater. It's down by the floor. "Dawn, is that you in the heater? If it is, 1 for yes, 2 for no." And so the heater just stops. And I go, "That's it." Well, and it goes. Then there's then I hear, it just buzzed like that. And I thought to myself, well, this might be some entity, some malevolent, somebody making a joke, and some entity that's just like trolling me, right? So I asked a bunch of questions. Were we engaged on a certain date? Was this wrong? They went, eh. So were we engaged on this date? Oh, is this? So I qualified it, and for 45 minutes we spoke a completely coherent back and forth conversations with yes and no questions for me. And from that point, I was like, well, she's still here. I'm not gonna just. I was feeling like I'm just going to leave this planet. I was just going to turn into a pile of dust and join her. It's going to be too painful. But my friend, our friend called and asked me how's Dawn doing? It was like 5 days after. So, how's she doing? How's she doing, Neil? And I said, are you sitting down? I've got some really hard news. And she goes, oh no, I knew it. So then she's gone. She left like on the 6th. She said, crying, and I'm comforting her. She goes, I knew it. And I go, wait, how could you know it? And she said, well, I asked her. And her answer, when I asked her if she's at peace, and her answer was yes. And I knew it. I knew she was no longer suffering, which meant only one thing, that she had transitioned. And I go, Katie, that's her name. How did you do that? Do you have a gift? She goes, well, I never told you this, but ever since I can remember, I've seen people who aren't here, and I can communicate with them. And as an adult, I studied theta healing and was able to help people with this gift. She's doing like a crime solving, finding of murder weapons and evidence and bodies and things, really high level. So she told me, yeah. Go ahead.
So how did she connect with Dawn?
She said Dawn, well, that was all that for that conversation. She was crying so much, that she was so emotional, and I just let it go. But what it did is it triggered in me the realization that Dawn is here, and she, from the heater, it reinforced that experience, and that verbally she could communicate. And I was staring at chandeliers and staring at the fireplace, and staring at things in the house, like, Dawn, if you're here, between the time that the heater went off, started, communicating to the heater, and then I got a call from our friend. I was like, I was sitting at the front of the heater crying every night. I was sitting in front of that heater on the floor. I could basically crawl around the house. It was in so much pain. So I started studying everything I could find on YouTube, on the internet, everything in writing, and all the people are saying the same things. It's like you just open yourself, you just become receptive, and you call the name, or you just think of the person, and then you leave your then I go, wait, I know I can do this. I did meditation for like almost 2 decades back in my teens, to my 20s, and I know about this reception. It's just like meditation, except the goal is not just simply nirvana, unification with creation. The goal is contacting someone who's in another, who's not living in this world anymore. So New Year's Eve, which is a very special day for me and Dawn, for us, we celebrated our reunion. We celebrated our togetherness. We had no kids. We were kind of midlife when we met. So we had each other, and we were so intertwined. So I'm sitting in front of the fireplace, and I do this meditation technique, and what all these cultures are saying: just listen, and call out their name and ask, a higher for the creator, whatever God, higher force, whatever you call it, to allow their voice to come through. If it's for the best, it's for the best for everyone. Please, it's a request. And I called out her name, and I heard her voice respond, Neil. And I just started crying.
Wow, and that
Yeah,
was her voice. That was her talking to you then.
yes, absolutely. And every day since New Year's Eve 2020 to 2021, we've been speaking. Um, we've been speaking, and not only that, I can feel her emotions, and I can see her clearly focus. It's on all senses. Um, I can I know when she's thinking of me, and I can communicate with her at any time when she's available. When she's she's just available, and that's because that's her personality.
Oh,
She
how
could she could choose to
fantastic.
be she could choose to be doing anything she wants where she is, and her choice, and she's told me this very strongly, is to spend time at this on this place, on this planet, and look after me, look over me, look. She's caring because she's extremely the most open-hearted, generous of heart person I've ever met in my life, and she continues to be that way.
Oh,
And and I'm gonna probably need a tissue.
how wonderful.
Yeah.
How touching and how wonderful.
Hmm.
And this is something that not everybody gets to experience, this experience that you've had with Dawn, where she can come back and you feel that she's communicating and and she's actually working with you and talking with you in regards to almost everything that's going on in your life.
Mhm.
I, I do have one more question for you
Mhm.
about, and this seems maybe a little bit abrupt to leave the story with you and Dawn right there, but it actually continues. And this has to do with the question of what do you see in your future and what do you want to do with these newfound skills about communicating and having Dawn on the other side that is working with you. What do you see in the future for this dynamic duo?
Mm. Yes, that's good. A good question. If I'd had a crystal ball, a lot of mediums do. I don't. I can only tell you like snapshots of projections of. Is what I tell everybody who want to know what's going to happen in the future. Is that I have a vision. I have a feeling of what my purpose is here. Um, Ever since that experience on New Year's Eve, it's like a door flew open, and I'm kind of I have a little more. I'm more aligned with what I feel is why I'm here, and has to do with taking these abilities that are all latent and using them to help people. It's a very open-ended. That's my philosophy. I simply want to do something positive to bring closure to people who are struggling, to help artists to get in touch with like a pure form of creativity within themselves and within our entire creation that they can tap into, because I've always wanted that for myself, for my artistic, for my art, and
Hmm.
and what happened from all those experiences. I'm reconnected with that that force, that energy, the I mean, there's all kinds of things that are beyond our sight, and being able to feel nature, connect with it, the ocean, the fish, the sky, the sea, and then beyond this planet. Um, it, it's opened up a palette. It's opened up the horizons to unlimited this, and so it's huge change. If I can do something to help people with the healing, I mean, I've got certification in theta healing and Reiki, and working on another form, another modality as well. If I could, and then because I've turned out that it turns out that the ability for me to see problems in people's in their bodies is pretty pronounced. I wasn't aware. I just like, oh, this is what I see. So
Mm-hmm.
if I can help anybody, Carol and I have done some work, and together we've done some healings, some COVID patients who are not vaccinated, and they were about to shut off their oxygen and let them just heart stop. And we had these people. I mean, we may have had something to do with it. I want to say take full credit. They walked out of the hospital the next day with 100%, well, within normal range, 198% oxygen absorption from their lungs when they were at critical levels.
Yes.
24 hours. It was like within a few minutes the results came in. I'm like, whoa, it's like the first time I've done any healing on it, people other than in the training. So it was reinforcing. And so if I can help people, yeah, that's what I feel is the next step. The classes I teach are how to tune. It's called Tune Your Instrument, and it's websites tuneyourinstrument.com. I just plug, and it's that's where my services are offered, and you can read about what each one of those is. It's I was given the gift through meditation. I received guidance on how to help people identify the vibration of the audio frequency of each of their energy centers. If people are listening are familiar with chakras, energy centers in the bodies, there's 7 of them that we focus on, and each one I was guided. There's a way to hear the sound, and it helps person energize them and become give them whatever they're supposed to be doing. It's an enhancement. It's not a cure-all. It's
Right.
simply energizing your energy centers and hearing their vibrational. There's color and there's sound in everything. There's vibrational qualities to everything in creation. So being able to tune in to your own, I found it very helpful for myself and the classes that I've taught the students. I think it's a beneficial thing.
Well, very good. So, I wanted to thank you so much for filling in and responding to these questions. I know that it was to talk about some of these things are very difficult, and for a lot of people who have lost loved ones, they really find themselves in a situation where they really want to connect. They're really destroyed by the loss of a loved one. And thank you for sharing exactly, you know, it wasn't a step by step breakdown, but these things that happened that enabled you to speak with Dawn, and that it continues to this day. Um, do you, is there something that you would like to share finally in closing and talking about this until the next time we meet?
Well, first, I'm honored to be part of this. It's just a wonderful experience, and hopefully we'll reach people and help them. And thank you for putting it on and putting it together, and for all the production staff and people behind the scenes. I
Excellent.
just in closing, I just could just reiterate that it's these abilities are not gifts. They call them, they're not special things that some people have and other people just will never have after we born again in multiple lifetimes. No, they're things that everybody possesses. Need to have a near-death experience or traumatic experience to be in touch with them. And maybe you already are. The listeners I'm talking to. This is a forum. This is a meeting place, a hub where we're just connecting practitioners with people that could be helped, and I'm very, very honored and hope to be part of it, and just I can see only good coming out of it.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, Neil will be part of our guest speakers every week. And I really wanted to thank Neil for sharing so much about him. I know that for our time frame, I am going to ask that we take a short break, and then I'm going to ask Gloria to speak for just a little bit, and then next week I will go ahead and we'll ask Gloria to share with her her story with all of us. And so with that, we'll be taking a short break right now. Thank you. Dreams can come true if you only believe your story is written so real.
Today's sponsor is Angel Heart for You. Nestled in the heart of beautiful downtown Benicia, California. Come embrace the aromas of scented candles, essential oils, incense, and aromatherapy products as you wander the aisles of our inspirational, metaphysical, book, and gift shop. Please call 707-745-2024.
Dreams can come true if you only believe your story is written so real. All right. Well, welcome back, everybody. I'm going to ask if Gloria, are you still on the line?
Yes, I am. I'm right here.
Oh, listen to you. You're just so full of energy. I love it. Absolutely love it. So Gloria is going to be a guest host with us also for our shows. And so next week, I would like to ask Gloria if you would come back with all of us, and Neil and I will interview you. Is this okay?
That is okay.
And then what we would like to do is also check with you about when you were little, how this all came about. What were these moments of inspiration that sparked you on, and ideas and things that you're continuing and will be doing in the future. And so, with this, I wanted to say thank you for everybody for joining. And this is going to be the conclusion of our first meeting. But before we do, Gloria, do you have anything that you'd like to share with us before we go? And then I'll ask Neil if Neil had anything he'd like to add.
Yeah, no, just happy to be here and happy to partake in listening to Neil's story. Thank you for sharing that. It helps to hear others' stories and know that you're not alone, because I know for me, I struggled with my awakening and my spirituality growing up because I didn't know that there were others like me, and I just thought I was, I knew I was different. I didn't know to what extent, and I always just thought that I just didn't fit in, and it didn't feel very good. So,
Well, really want to thank you for sharing even that. And with so many of us, we don't know who is around us that is also gifted, that is also sensitives. And thank you. And that's part of why we have this show. This is to go forward and to discover all these different attributes that everybody has that is all gifts. And so, with that, Neil, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
Oh, no, thanks, Gloria. It's good to hear your voice again. And Randolph says hi.
hi, Randolph.
That's the plant. That's the split leaf photodendron up on the balcony there. It's waving.
And and Randolph is massive to everybody in our listening capacity. He is huge. He is a huge plant. So
Yeah.
he is large and in charge, Randolph. So
Oh, Dawn's waving too.
hey,
Hi,
Dawn.
Yeah.
How you doing, Dawn? Much love to you. Well, thank you so much for all of you, and I really appreciate Dawn, Neil, Gloria, and our hosts here at CTR Network. And I wanted to say thank you. We will be back again next Thursday at 4 p.m. And for further information for this show, you will find we'll have it updated to show the links to Gloria's website and to Neil's website. And then AUAHUB.com is going to be updated and published. and I would welcome you all to go in and take a look at all of it. So thank you so much for joining us today.